Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. Hope you're doing well out there. Incredible couple of days with Donald Trump's perfect phone call asking for election fraud from Georgia. I'm not going to talk about that on this episode. I'm going to talk about some on the upcoming episode of Redacted Tonight. But no, I want to talk about the election fraud that's going on in Georgia right now. And went on in the general election that neither party wants to talk about. Neither one really wants to get in to a far larger election fraud that is going on in Georgia right now. Today is, by the way, the election, most people know, for the runoff election. But it also, it's the same fraud that went on in the general election. And neither party wants to talk about it. Trump's just making up numbers. It's like, his phone call was like, I just need you to find 11,700, whatever. Just find those votes and then tell them that you recalculated. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing if tomorrow Georgia called up and they were like, we see it. All of a sudden, Secretary of State of Georgia's on CNN. Yeah, we recalculated. Trump won by one vote. Incredible. Anyway. I'm not even going to get into that. I'm going to get into the election fraud that neither party wants to talk about. And I'm also, after that, going to get into the Kamala Harris plagiarism scandal that's going on right now, which is also pretty hilarious. Please share this. Please let people know to join us. But so I'm going to play a short video from Greg Palast, investigative journalist. He's been doing it forever. He's a New York best-selling author. He used to be, back when they did slightly more legitimate journalism, he was featured on the BBC regularly, Guardian, Democracy Now. Back when there was still a little looser control. It wasn't all fully locked down yet. And so they used to have him on those networks. And then they slowly realized that, he's revealing the real election fraud that goes on in our elections pretty much every time. And neither party wants to talk about it. And I'm going to explain in a minute why neither party wants to talk about it. But let's just show you. So I guess to start this is the first clip you're going to see in Greg Palast's video is you won't see him. You'll see a stage down in Georgia. And this is immediately following a press conference that happened, was it yesterday? I think yesterday. And this is Greg Palast yelling from the audience a question that gets completely ignored. But what's hilarious is our mainstream media is acting like the Secretary of State, I believe it is, right now in Georgia is like this hero because he came out and debunked Trump's bullshit about what's going on in Georgia right now. And that's the right thing. That's what he should have done. But he's not a fucking hero. He's an awful human being who has facilitated the purging of hundreds of thousands of voters from the voter rolls in Georgia. It just so happens that even with that purging, Trump still lost. So it didn't manage to give Trump the win. But so Greg Palast is yelling from the audience a question that gets ignored. And so that's the first thing you'll see, which is kind of funny because this is when the mainstream media cut off. The mainstream media did not want to show what happened after. Of course, they wouldn't show this. Let's see. Here is this video was put together by Palast and his minions, his people that run around helping him do stuff.
Excuse me, the Secretary of State was asked by a federal judge to meet with Black Voters Matter to return wrongly purged voters back to the voter rolls. Why have you refused to meet with the Black Voters Matter before this vote? This is the second time you've ducked this question, and it's the third time you've ducked Black Voters Matter. Okay, Greg Palast, Pacifica.
I've lived in this house for 20 years.
But I've been living in this house 13 to 15 years.
I've been purged from the voter rolls, haven't moved, and my name was not there.
So what's going on here? The state says these voters have moved, and here they were.
All right, so we'll come back to that in a second. But so these people they claim they moved, and that's what they do this in a lot of states. pretend that people moved and therefore are no longer registered. So when the people come to vote, they either can't vote or they fill out a provisional ballot, which then gets tossed in the trash. And by doing that, they can then purge hundreds of thousands of voters from the rolls. Now, like I said, there's a reason neither party wants to talk about this. The Republicans don't want to talk about this because this is done largely by Republicans to stop people of color from voting. It's done mostly to Black and Hispanic people and some Asian people as well. But it's really designed. It's the new Jim Crow in terms of voting, and it's designed to stop them from voting. And it succeeds. Hundreds of thousands knocked off the voter rolls. Did not vote in the general election in November, and largely won't be allowed to vote in this runoff that's happening right now either. And so it's easy to think like, well, that benefits the Democrats. The Democrats must love this. They must be running around yelling this from the hills. But no, it's not on. You turn on MSNBC. How much did you hear about the hundreds of thousands? You know how much Trump lost by or Biden won by in Georgia? 11,700 or whatever. And this is 200, 300,000 voters purged from the rolls. And yet he only lost by 11,000. So why don't the Democrats want to talk about it? Well, there's a few things. One is their job right now is to pretend that we just have the best election system, right? It's just awesome. It's just so great. And Trump is a maniac and he's wrong that the elections are fucked up, which the things Trump are saying, yes, they're incorrect. However, he's not wrong that we have a fucked up system. You have millions of people of color being purged from the rolls regularly. So the Democrats and the MSNBC and the CNNs, they NPR, all of them, they generally want to run around saying, nope, election system just awesome, just great, working great. And so they don't want to bring up this topic either. And for the most part, they don't. It's not really discussed much. It's not covered on MSNBC as far as I've seen. And so it's kind of counterintuitive that you're like, well, you'd think they would love this topic, but they don't. And also, I think another reason that they don't really get into it is this is kind of the agreement between the Democrats and the Republicans. You know, the Democrats rig their own primaries in a variety of ways. The Republicans purge a bunch of people of color. And, the Democrats, the ruling elite of the Democrats are kind of like, yeah, well, Black people, they don't matter that much. Yeah, we like that they vote for us more so than they vote Republican, but they're not, they don't matter that much. I feel like that's what you get from the ruling elite of the Democratic Party. It's like, people of color are purged from the rolls. Whatever. I mean, what are you going to do? And this goes back, this is like the history of America, right? Has gone down this path. At first, it was written in the books, like literally people of color can't vote. And then, though that got changed, but it was still kind of like, well, we could still find ways for people of color not to vote, right? We'll factor in some things so they can't vote. So this is a long-term American game of purging people from the rolls, making sure they can't vote. And it's amazing to watch them just kind of ignore it, act like it doesn't exist. And like I said, these numbers are far greater than the numbers that Trump is, saying, I just need 11,000 votes. If I could just 11,000 votes, I could find it easy. This is 300,000 were purged for moving. And I think Greg Palast was able to put together a list of 198,000, like actual people that had not moved. Like, here they are. We have the list. They haven't moved. They're living in their same house. Fucking put them back on the rolls. But Georgia has refused. This guy that they're claiming is the hero in Georgia, Secretary of State, refused to put these people back on the rolls. I'm going to play a little more from Greg Palast. And like I said, in a minute, I want to move on to Kamala Harris's hilarious plagiarism, the scandal that's going on right now. But all right, let's play more of the video.
Mr. Harvey, just a quick question. I was just talking to some voters, Curtis Frazier, Michael Watson, Ishtar Diaz. According to your office, these voters had filled out change of address forms because they moved, and so they were removed from the voter rolls. They told us that they have not moved. Can I give you their names? You can put them back on the rolls. They were wrongly removed.
I'll be happy to take their names and we can follow up.
Well, actually, we have the list of 198,000. If it turns out that they have not moved, as you claimed, we return them to the voter rolls.
Sir, I'll be happy to take the information and follow up.
So even if they're wrongly removed, you won't return them to the voter rolls? In other words, you're just not going to do it.
We just want to get it resolved. Like, there are 198,000 people, as you can imagine, that we feel very strongly that are being disenfranchised right now. And so we're coming in good faith. We've reached out repeatedly for the last 7 days. We just want to get it resolved. And so we would like to sit down with you all. We don't want to get a run around the block. We want to sit down, have a meeting, have our experts to sit down with your experts and get it resolved. That at the end of the day, people's voting rights as an election officer, you understand how critical that is.
Will you and the secretary meet with Latasha Brown and her plaintiffs?
Yeah.
You're not going to say whether you're going to just meet with them? The court has asked you, said you should meet with them.
Greg Palast and other groups have brought court cases in Georgia, and they were told to meet with them and told that these people should be put back on the rolls. It hasn't happened. But yeah, and my favorite part is when Palast lists 3 people and says, these people have been purged from the rolls and they haven't moved. You claim they moved. They haven't moved. Can you put them back on the rolls? And the guy goes, I'd be happy to take their name. And then Palast is like, that's great. We also have 198,000 others. But to me, although I'm sorry, I'm more cynical than, that woman there that he was with. And I suppose Palast to a degree, because it's hilarious to watch these people talk to that guy. He was the election director in Georgia, who is part and parcel to this system of purging all these people from the rolls. Like, he knows the game. He, at very least, is aware of it, but likely is part of it. And so to go up to them and go, could you please put these people back on the rolls and voter rolls? And he's like, oh yeah, I'll get right on that. I mean, just like the idea that this guy gives a shit. I mean, not just doesn't give a shit. He fucking doesn't. He doesn't. He's part of it. He helps make it happen. That's his job. That's probably why he got that job. You rise up the ranks in these election systems if you're willing to do this shit, if you're willing to be a part of it. Not if you're some kind of good person with morals and ethics and all these weird, crazy words like that. No, he's there because he does that. Anyway, you can find out more from Greg Palast. I think it's like gregpalast.com or something. He's been writing a lot about this. Like I said, there's an ongoing court case. But so when you hear, and we'll get these election results on this runoff soon. And when you hear so-and-so won by 50,000 votes or 30,000 or 10,000, keep in mind that 200 to 300,000 people were purged from the rolls falsely. Those are the real numbers. And it's just amazing that this shit doesn't get really any coverage, even from the side you think benefits from having those people back on the rolls, even from the Democratic Party, even from our fucking shitstorm of a liberal media, meaning MSNBC, CNN, NPR. It doesn't really get any coverage from any of them. I saw earlier, by the way, change of subject, I saw someone mention the poster behind me. I came up with the idea, and it was created. Someone said the artist's name is redacted. No, the artist's name is not redacted. The artist's name is not on it. But the artist's name is Lee Camp and Lucy Dyer. I came up with the concept. Lucy Dyer made the image, and you can get. You can download a free copy from my website. I've always made it free. Okay, so let's move on to this pretty hilarious Kamala Harris plagiarism scandal that's going on now. So apparently Kamala Harris has fairly regularly, like more than once apparently, told this story about how she has, when she was a little kid, she was at the fair. Anyway, I'm going to read what, this is from the New York Post, which the New York Post is a garbage outlet. Don't ever trust anything the New York Post says, but I've verified it in other outlets, so I know it's not false. But whatever you do, don't trust the New York Post. Here's the article, and let's see. Kamala Harris appears to repeatedly plagiarize an MLK antidote, Martin Luther King antidote. And so she said it in Elle magazine, but she said it at other points. She talks about Harris detailed a time when she became separated from her parents at a civil rights march. And she says specifically, by the way, that she fell out of her stroller. So we're talking a very young child. Falls out of her stroller and is separate, and somehow her parents don't notice that a child has been dumped out of her stroller. I don't have a kid, so maybe I could be wrong. That sounds like something you might notice, even in a crowd, even in noise. Seems like you might notice a kid going fucking flying from a stroller. Anyway, let's give her the benefit of the doubt on that. At that point in her story, when Harris's parents found their lost daughter, so they go back, they lose her, and they go back and they find her out in the crowd. And so at that point, the account begins to sound similar to a tale told by the great civil rights leader. Actually, I want to give the rest of, I want to give Martin Luther King's version first. So Martin Luther King said in an interview in 1965, "I will never forget a moment in Birmingham when a white policeman accosted a little Negro girl, 7 or 8 years old, who was walking in a demonstration with her mother. 'What do you want?' the policeman asked her gruffly, and the little girl looked at him straight in the eye and answered, 'Feed 'em.' She couldn't even pronounce it, but she knew. It was beautiful. Many times when I have been in sorely trying situations, the memory of that little one has come into my mind and has buoyed me." Okay, so the differences between this story and Kamala Harris's version are important. So remember that version. And then the one Kamala Harris is telling is that she, not some little girl, but Kamala Harris as a little girl, fell out of her stroller at a march, civil rights march. So this is a quote from Kamala Harris. "My mother tells the story about how," this is after she finds her, "how I'm fussing and she's like, 'Baby, what do you want? What do you need?' And I looked at her and I said, 'Freedom,'" Harris told the magazine. So Harris has told this story multiple times. And I suppose some people could argue that, it's a coincidence that Harris and Martin Luther King have the same story. But here's the thing, is the differences are so fucking important that in Martin Luther King's version, this is a young black girl talking to a police officer, talking to a white police officer who is basically being like mean. Like it says, he asked her gruffly, "What do you want? What you like it's a point of intimidation. I mean, this is during civil rights. This is black people and a black child standing up against the fist of the fascist state, a white supremacist state in a lot of ways that was holding down these people. And the little girl said to the policeman, to that authority figure, to that fist of the fascist state, said, "I want freedom." That is poignant. That is meaningful. That is like has so much more meaning than Kamala Harris has stolen it for herself, but also unknowingly sucked the meaning out of it, which actually I think speaks a lot to who Kamala Harris is. She is a, corporate liberal clown who has risen up the ranks of the party establishment because she will do the bidding of the prison industry, of the Wall Street, not going after Mnuchin, of the law and order, as they like to call it, state. And really allow all of the horror show that goes on within our government, within our American empire. And so that's why she's risen up. There's a lot of similarities to Obama and Obama's rise. But so you got the plagiarism aspect, which is bad enough if she plagiarized it. I suppose there's a tiny little modicum of a chance that she didn't steal this as her, and it's possible she's now convinced herself this is her actual memory, which is even sadder. But that's what con artists do, is they don't know. Trump doesn't know reality from the shit he creates in his head. I mean, it's clear on that phone call that was recorded. He doesn't know. He reads something on Twitter, and to him it's real, because he wants to believe it, so it just becomes truth in his head. And that's how he's lived his whole life. He's just, failed upwards his whole life. And there's a similarity here with Kamala Harris, which is these are carnival barkers. These are showmen and women who are lying to you on such a regular basis that they don't know really what's a lie and what's not. They don't, it all blurs together for them. The idea of it being wrong to lie has dissipated from their mind fucking years ago. And so it's quite possible that she has convinced herself that this is her reality. But to me, what's important beyond just the plagiarism is how she has sucked out the actual meaning of the actual oppression that went on in MLK's initial story. She's taken the police officer out, because if she leaves the police officer in, then that goes against her worldview and what she is, right? She was California's top cop. She proudly called herself California's top cop. I believe she called herself that. Either way, whether she said that or not, she was the Attorney General of. I think I have that right. The Attorney General of California, and it was her job to prosecute a lot of people of color for small drug crimes, or make sure that their prosecutions continue. I'm not saying she went to court for everybody who had a joint, but she made sure that system continued. She didn't get in the way of it. She didn't stop it. She also prosecuted parents because their kids were truant, meaning their kids weren't showing up to school enough. So let's lock up the single parents that are clearly having so much trouble that they can't, monitor their kids because they're fucking working all day. And so, yeah, let's put them in prison. That's going to help a lot. So in her worldview, the cop is the hero. The cop is the good guy. So it wouldn't make sense for her to tell that story and face off against a cop, even if it were true about her being a little girl. On top of that, I imagine the reality of this story is that she was in a stroller and probably, or not even in a stroller, she probably got lost from her parents at some point. And then all the rest she added so that it made for a good civil rights story. Because it seems to me that if you're in a stroller, like I said, I think your parents notice if you fall out. Even if they don't notice if you fall out, if you're in a stroller, you are super young, right? You're like probably under 4. The kid that MLK is talking about, he said the girl was 8 or 9. Like at a level where she could understand. Yeah, she couldn't pronounce freedom, but she was at a level where she understood what it was that her parents were, or family members were fighting for. Whereas if you have like a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old, they might be able to repeat a word, but they don't know why, they don't know that a civil rights march is about freedom. To me, it doesn't ring true. I mean, maybe, yes, there are precocious kids who are way ahead of their time and all that shit, but those should be put down because they're kind of annoying. So I say we just send them off into the woods or whatnot, because don't talk back to me. I don't need a 3-year-old smarter than me. I don't need to deal with that right now. And then there's the fact that the story also doesn't make sense because her parents lose her. They go and find her and she's crying now, or fussy. Now, why would a kid in that situation, the kid would be crying or fussy because she got lost. She didn't know where her parents were. She was out in a crowd of people she didn't know, strangers. Like, that's why the kid was upset. So for the parents to then find her and go, why are you upset? And her to go, I need freedom. What the fuck? It doesn't even make any sense. Her version doesn't even make any fucking sense. Not only has she sucked the anger and the pulse and the heartbeat out of that story of a black child standing up to a white police officer and saying, I need freedom, but she sucked all the meaning out of it and gotten rid of the oppression and gotten rid of the standing up against the police state and just made it about her. It's amazing, but it fits with her entire career to me. Like, to me, that is what she is, and that fits. So yeah, this is becoming a bit of a scandal, but really, I think it seems most people are just upset about it because of the plagiarism, which you should be upset about, but there's more to it than that, in my opinion. All right, so that's the lambasting of Kamala Harris today. For those of you who tuned in a little late, don't worry. I've made fun of Trump in this episode as well. I don't want you to think that on a day when Trump's phone call, Trump's idiot, can you please give me election fraud phone call, is all over the media, that I skipped over all that and just went straight to how stupid Kamala Harris looks. No, I trashed both of them. Don't worry. And I will be doing more of that on this upcoming episode of Redacted tonight. Also, for those of you who tuned in late, I covered the election fraud in Georgia that neither party wants to talk about. The 200 to 300,000 people, mostly people of color, that have been purged from the rolls. This is happening across America, has happened across America, and people aren't standing up to it. They're not really fighting back. They don't hear about it. It's not getting the coverage that it should. And I told that someone was arguing with me because he was saying, "Oh, the election was stolen from Trump," and I was explaining to him that the things Trump is saying are horseshit. And however, I was also agreeing that we have a shit electoral system. Ours is a dumpster fire, but that doesn't mean that Trump's fantasies are true. And so when I brought up the hundreds of thousands that have been purged, the person in Georgia, people of color, the person goes, well, yeah, but Trump did better with the black vote. It's like, yeah, he did do a little better. I think he got 18% or something, but that's not enough for it to mean that purging 200,000 black people is good, is bad for him. It's still good for him and good for the Republicans. Anyway, it's sad people are believing this shit, but when you have a garbage media like this, what people don't know where to turn. They don't know where to turn for reality, so I think, when people, CNN and all of them are upset, oh, people don't have trust in us anymore. And it's like, then fucking say truthful things, you twat bags. Why do you think they don't have trust in you anymore? Because you were promoting utter garbage. You spent 4 years making up a Russian menace. Why do you think they don't trust you anymore? So that when you do say something true, it's too fucking late. You get it? You see how it works? All right. Got to calm myself down. For those of you asking about the poster, it is available at, I don't want to look it up on my website. So just go to my Twitter at Lee Camp. You scroll down, you'll see Lucy Dyer posted a link to where you can, sorry about that, to where you can download it for free, completely free, no cost, nothing. Let's see if anybody's got any interesting things to say real quick. Well, I appreciate the comments. Thank you. Silence is violence. Go vegan, says my 6-year-old niece is smart. She's already talking about retirement. Good kid. Really, because honestly, why be a wage slave? I agree with her. This is a fucked up system we have. We deserve universal basic income as a means to get beyond our unfettered trash heap capitalist system that puts profit over all else, profit over our lives, profit over our health, profit over our security. So I agree with her. Retire now. I also have a long-standing belief that, and I've never heard anybody come along with me on this, but if you look at what's going on in the world, if you watch the news, so let's say you turn on our garbage media every day, and you watch what's going on in the world, a lot of the worst shit goes on the weekdays. Like a lot of the worst, like, people treating people awful and politicians just, gutting environmental regulations or whatever the fuck they can get away with. And just all the worst shit seems to happen on the weekdays. And then there's still some things happening on the weekend, but a lot less of it. There's a lot less of it. I don't want to act like the Pentagon doesn't bomb on weekends. They do. But there's a certain decrease. I'd say I'm going to go 36% decrease of all the violence and assholery on the weekends. And so I got an idea. Let's just always do weekends. Let's just make all the days weekends. Why do we need weekdays? Just all weekends. I mean, what are we working towards anyway? It's everybody. I got to get to work. Well, what are we really building? Most of it's shit. It used to be that you had to get to work to farm the fields so you could survive. That's not what we're doing anymore. We're just typing emails no one cares about, writing things no one sees, and fucking making videos like this one no one needs to see. Well, I would like to think you need to see this, but if all the other garbage stopped, if all the horror shows stopped, then you wouldn't need these videos to explain what the horror show is that's going on. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. Please, I make these videos every single weekday, except sometimes, because of course, weekends off. And I have a new Redacted Tonight episode coming out. Oh, I have a big Redacted VIP coming out this Thursday. Interview with Mark Skidmore, the economist that discovered the $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments in the Pentagon's books, the publicly viewable Pentagon finances. This is the guy who found it and started that story, got people looking at it. He's an economist, and all he did was go through the Pentagon's publicly available finances. It was like, wow, there's $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments, unaccounted for money sloshing around, and don't try and process $21 trillion or your brain will explode. But anyway, that interview with him, and he has a whole news story that is another fucking incredible story that he presents on that episode. That'll be out this Thursday. All this stuff all the Redacted Tonight stuff's at youtube.com/redacted tonight. All of my stuff is at youtube.com/moment of clarity. I mean, my non-redacted stuff. And please subscribe there if you haven't already. youtube.com/moment of clarity. Click subscribe, click the bell. And if you want to see these videos every single weekday, except sometimes, go to leecamp.com. I put them up there almost every single day. All right. Keep fighting.